Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Open Office Hours. My name is Brandy, and I will let my colleague introduce herself.
Hey everybody, it's Tatiana. Welcome.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Lucky you all. It's just Tatiana and myself today. So we're giving Crystal and Hannah some time off today, much deserved. We're going to miss them, but you guys are lucky enough to get stuck with us today. So if this is your first time joining us, then welcome. We're so happy to have you. This is a safe space, and I mean safe space for you to ask any and all questions that you've been thinking about. Maybe you've been with Syncro for a while, you might be seeing it for the first time, and you might be in an active trial. So we do appreciate you taking time out of your Friday. Some of you it's Saturday and joining us today. If you've been with us before, you know how this goes, so welcome back. What we're going to do today, if you have any questions at all, if you would be so kind to drop those in the Q&A, that will help Tatiana and myself stay organized throughout this process. We usually try to go in order of how you guys have asked your questions. If we skip over yours for any reason, please know we're probably getting in touch with someone else from our team to get you an answer for that. So we may or may not know it. We try to answer any and all, or at least address any and all questions that we get today. The two of us will be dropping some links in the chat box for you guys to grab just based on the questions that you're asking. We might have videos, knowledge-based articles, email addresses, things like that. Just keep in mind, these are recorded, and so these are going to be posted to our YouTube channel, but the links are not. So you'll want to grab those throughout. We'll try to remember to give you like a 10 or 15-minute warning to grab any of those links as we go through. But I think the biggest thing that we want to make sure that we address is that we know a lot about this product. We've been here for several years, but we're not technical support. So as much as we would love to, we just don't have the time today, nor do we have the back end knowledge of some of this, with your account. We can't look up your account or your tickets or things like that. So we just ask that if there is anything that's specific to your account that you do need technical support with, please, please, please reach out to them directly. We'll drop their email address in here for you. As much as we would love to help you with that, we just aren't able to. So with that being said, I'm excited. I wasn't here last week. I actually had some time off last week, which was nice. But Tatiana and Hannah said that you had requested a deep dive on the customer portal. So I'm really excited to kick this off today by handing it over to Tatiana. While you guys are coming up with some questions, she's going to start with a deep dive on the customer portal. And as she's going through, you can ask any questions. It doesn't have to be pertaining to the portal. We'll probably address those questions first when she's finished. But feel free to ask anything. Drop those in the Q&A. I see some strolling in. So Tatiana, take it away.
Thank you for that awesome intro, Brandy. Super fun to have you back. Welcome. For those of you guys that were here last week, a lot of you, like at least, I want to say 5 or 10 of you guys were like, please do a deep dive of the customer portal. So here we are, per your request. We are going to take a look at the customer portal together today. So first things first that I wanted to address, if you are either new to Syncro or you're considering Syncro, or even if you use Syncro for a while and you just haven't enabled this piece yet, the number one thing I always recommend is this getting started with Synchro Kb. I'm going to drop this into the chat box for you guys. This is going to take you through A to Z, everything you could possibly ever need to know in setting up your Syncro account. It will have links to everything that I'm talking about today, setting up the customer portal, all that good stuff is going to be ordered for you, which steps to take, in which order to take them. So this would be just kind of some background knowledge for you guys. Same thing here. I'll drop this specific customer portal users KB into the chat box as well. I am going to try to go pretty slow today because I have personally gotten feedback that sometimes we just zip through these demonstrations as we're not trying to go as quick as possible, but we are aware that we only have an hour together and we do try to get to everybody's questions. So I am going to slow down today. We're going to take probably at least 5 minutes to really dive into the depths of like every piece that you need to think about when you are setting up your customer portal. So just drop that into the KB, that KB into the chat box if you guys want to follow along with me. So first things first, let's dive in. First things first, head over to your admin section. And then we're going to scroll down to your customer preferences section. The reason I recommend looking in here first is there's going to be a couple things that you want to make sure are enabled. So I'm going to click enable multiple contacts on customers. That's important because if there's plenty of employees that you're serving at that company, you want to make sure everybody has their own access to the customer portal. Same thing, additional settings here. I have, a lot of these are super straightforward. Privacy page. Do you want to show them estimate name, invoice name, different things like that. So start here in the customer settings. Make sure you have enabled the things that you want. Secure customer portal with password if portal users exist, things like that. So make sure you have all of this enabled here. Next step here is going to be to head over to your under the customer information, your portal user permissions groups. The reason this is important is because you set the level of access that you need on an employee per employee basis. Out of the box, we'll have a admin portal users group as well as a non-portal users group. And again, you pick and choose the level of access that you want on an employee per employee basis. For admins, obviously I have everything enabled here. Maybe you want somebody to just only have access to the documentation piece. Again, pretty straightforward setup, but it is important to make sure you have this in place first of the level of access and the options that you want to choose from on an employee per employee basis. So make sure you have your portal user permission group set up. Next step here in the PDF and email templates, go ahead and open that in a new tab. And I'm going to open our templates and we're going to click into email templates. The reason this is important is just to understand the two things that are related to your portal are going to be here: portal invitation email, as well as portal password reset email. Again, a lot of these are already set up for you. It'll just have like, hey, you're invited to the portal, go ahead and click here to set up your username and password, things like that. But if you want to make it fancy, if you want to make it pretty, this is where you find those settings there. And then once you have those pieces set up, now let's go over to a customer's profile. We're here with famous Larry from Larry's Business, and we're going to tab over to our contact section. This is going to be where you're kind of pulling all of those details together. So again, if you have multiple contacts, you can import them via CSV right here. If you click the import button, it'll take you there. It'll give you that template to fill out, and then you go ahead and just upload it right here to Larry's Business. So once you have your contacts built out on a contact per contact basis, all of them are going to have the same option, but you scroll down just a little bit and you say, yep, we want to enable the portal user. It'll give you like a little pop-up window that says this will create a portal user and send them a setup email to the email address on file. If no email is present, you can set up the account manually. So we already talked about that email over in the template section just now. Go ahead and click enable portal user. Again, here you go. We just talked about the portal user group. This is where you choose what level of access do we want Brandy to have. Brandy's an admin. We're going to make sure she has access to everything. Do you want MFA? This is extremely important if you're passing credentials to the customer portal. And again, I'll show you as soon as we set this up, I'll show you what it's going to look like from the customer's perspective. But absolutely, even if it's annoying for them to enter the MFA, do it for security purposes. Password login override, password policy, portal user password confirmation. Okay, this last piece is also super important. There is a fee included in this that I want to make sure you're aware of. When you purchase a license of Syncro for you and your technicians, you are purchasing unlimited endpoints through Syncro and unlimited splashtop endpoints through Syncro for you and your techs. If your customer needs to remote into their own endpoint, there's a $5 charge for that to use Splashtop for your end user to remote into unlimited endpoints. It's outside of your per user fee through Syncro. So again, if that's something that is important to you, if that's a service that you want to offer to your customers, make sure you have that selected in here, enable remote access. It'll tell you the information it needs. And again, it's a $5 fee per contact to give them unlimited endpoints. And to kind of close the loop on this one specifically, I'll show you can even bill on a recurring invoice for that contact per contact remote access. If you go to invoice modules, recurring invoices, again, some of you I see just passing the fee along to the customer at $5 a contact. Some of you, I see you guys adding, billing $10 for that service, totally up to you. Scroll down to your recurring invoice, remote access contact counter, pull in your product. I don't know if I have one built out here, but you can say remote access, call it something more creative than item. Here's my notes of what it is. Then again, I don't have any enabled, so mine says 0. Your cost is $5. I'm going to bill mine 10. And again, mine is 0 because I don't have any enabled, but if you had yours enabled, add that to the template. There you go. There's another revenue stream for you because of the service that you're providing to your customer. Okay, kind of a segue, but the point is enable it and then choose if you want to bill for it or not. So once you have all of these pieces set up, we're going to now go to the actual customer profile and see what this looks like from your end user's perspective. Again, the view that I'm going to be showing you today is going to be the admin view, meaning every access, every button, all of those 26 permissions that we gave them here in the portal user permissions group, 26 out of 26, this is what I have enabled on mine. Your logo would show here. You can change this color if you want to in our admin section. If you guys want me to show you that, I will, but it's pretty easy to find. And again, this is 26 out of 26 permission. Account overview, open tickets. When they click into the tickets, they're going to be able to see the PDF. I already showed you where those PDFs are. They can communicate with you, view previous comments. Again, privacy settings, you can enable or disable for them to have access to. Open invoices. If you have any payment integration set up through Syncro, WorldPay, PayPal, or Stripe, there's going to be a new column right here that you can actually make a payment via the customer. Your customer can make a payment via the customer portal. So if they're using PayPal, they click Pay Now, and it'll be like a greenish color right here. It takes them to PayPal, they make a payment, the payment syncs backwards towards Syncro, marks this invoice as paid. If you're using QuickBooks Desktop Online or Xero, it will also mark that invoice as paid. Continuing down our list, recent payments, pretty straightforward. Estimates, they can approve or decline via the customer portal once you build them out for them. Again, PDF is customizable. We already know where to find that. Attachments are straightforward. Assets are pretty cool here because you can actually enable them to run scripts, self-service scripts on their own endpoints. You can enable this on the scripting section. Again, if you have questions on that, let me know. And then last couple pieces in here, documentation, you can make available via either all customer portals, or obviously credentials for Larry are only going to be visible for Larry if that's the way that you have your documentation set up. Separate credentials, this piece right here directly correlates with your contacts section here, or I'm sorry, your credentials section right here. So again, if it's private, that means it's only for you and your techs. If it's public to the customer portal, that's what's going to be visible here. Again, that's why I highly recommend setting up MFA for the portal. And then subscriptions are their recurring invoices. So that is what I have for you. We could probably talk about customer portal for the next full hour if we really needed to, but I think that's going to cover the basics of setup, how all the parts are interlinked. I'm going to pause here for a second and we're going to take a look at the Q&A and see if we missed anything or if you need any more clarity.
We do have a couple questions in here on the customer portal. Let me just kind of, okay, Grady's asking, one of my questions is to know if we can lower the number of characters for portal users. It's 12 currently. There's nothing that, like, if that's what it is, that's what it is right now. That would be a feature request. And then I'm going to get to Larry's question about the updates to the portal, but I saw something else in here. Oh, when I click the customer online profile, it prompts me for a login. Larry's asking about that. That's just because there's a password set. One of the contacts, you have a portal user in there set with a password.
Yeah, I wonder, let me share my screen real quick because I saw this setting and I wonder if this will, I don't know if this will be a workaround, Larry. You can test this on your own. If you go over to your admin section, more admin, and then under the customer preferences, I don't know if this is the button for it, but I saw this one, secure customer portal with password if portal users exist. So again, the reason for mine is because I don't have this selected. So for me, I can jump into a customer online profile right here, just without entering a password in order to see it. The other thing too is none of my actual contacts are portal users. Actually, no, they are. Mine is enabled. So yeah, I would check this setting right here. I don't have mine enabled, which is why I think I can open it in a new just kind of without entering a password. So double check on that. Obviously, if you're passing super important information via there, just do the password for sure.
Awesome, thank you. A couple other questions in here. Derek's asking, is there a way to white label the customer portal? No. You can redirect the portal URL to a custom URL if you have that. So I think Tatiana dropped she dropped the KB on the portal there. There is an option, like if you just search for redirecting, you can definitely do that, and we can pop that in for you. Another question is, is there any way to limit portal users to only see the tickets that particular user is listed as the contact on? So yes, there is. I can share my screen with you really quickly too. So this is going to be in the settings, and keep in mind too, this is recorded, so all of the things that Tatiana went through with you guys, this is all going to be recorded too. But in the admin section, you'll just choose what they have access to seeing. So if you want them to just see their own tickets rather than their whole company, you'll just select view mine, and that would be any tickets that contact is the owner of, essentially. So that. And I haven't read through some of these new ones that are on the customer portal.
I'll grab this one from Grady. He says, can they pay multiple invoices with one process? I don't think so, Grady. Let me share my screen and I'll show you one that I have set up a payment processor on. I wonder if this is going to work. Yep. So this is going to be one of my customer profiles that actually does, I think it's PayPal or something else. But what this would look like is just like this for you. I think if they, I guess there's a pay all. So let's see. So there isn't a way, I don't see a way to select like 1, 2, 3. These 3 are getting paid with the check that just came in the mail. There is a pay all button. But again, if they click pay now like this, it would take them to that payment processor to enter their payment that way. Yeah, that would be a cool feature request, is to select which ones they're actually making a payment for, to do that all in one fell swoop. We're obviously consolidating that onto one invoice. Hopefully you don't have like 50 outstanding invoices at one time from one customer.
And if so, do the recurring invoice and then have it auto charge each month. That will help you.
That's its own.
I saw another one in here. Will you clarify which portal user group users end up in if you have the portal disabled? We found users can still see the portal even without, the only thing they're going to be able to do is create a ticket. So like if you have a link from the system tray icon for them to be able to go to their customer portal and they're not a portal user, it's just going to open up the option for them to create a ticket. If you guys are using it for that, don't use that part. Use the system tray menu to use the agent contact form to allow them to create ticket. It's prettier. It's got your logo. There's more options. I really like that option. So yes, by default, it would just give them a ticket generation. They would not see any data. So you can definitely do that.
I have a question here from Derek. He says, when I make a public note and charge time on it, how can I have that public note included on the invoice? So this is interesting because it's kind of related to the customer portal. So I know we're kind of prioritizing those first, but you do have the ability here, if you go over to your admin section, and then you click into scroll down to your tickets, ticket preferences, additional settings. Scroll down and it's going to be here. So there's 2 options. You can either say customize text for ticket timer charges or customize text for ticket charges. So I'll link this KB into the chat box. Whoops, not that one. this one. That's probably what we're talking about. That link is broken. I'll let our devs know about that. But yes, it's this one, ticket timers. Scroll down on this KB. Again, I'll drop it into the chat box for you here in just a second, but all the way down at the bottom, you can either choose ticket timer tags, meaning that from an actual ticket perspective. So let's click into this one. It'll show the notes that are available here in the labor log. So when you're viewing your log and you're saying, here are my notes, and we're billing for an hour, these are the notes that are going to be included if you choose to use these ticket timer charges or ticket timer tags in this section right here. And those are a little bit more limited. Again, it's totally up to you which ones are more important to you. So if you choose these, it's going to be pulled from this ticket timer log notes by putting it into this section here. Or you have more flexibility here for ticket tags. These are just the general tags. And this is going to include tech name, bio, due date, who worked on it, when they worked on it, what they thought about it, whatever it might be. You can literally copy paste all of these, pop them. So you can, it's a either or, either use these or use these. And then again, this text is going to be pulled from your ticket charges or just ticket communication section, private notes, public notes, whatever it might be. But again, the reason I grabbed this one real quick is because via the customer portal, they would be able to see any public notes, any emails that you send them just by clicking into the ticket and then taking a look at the ticket communication section. So my profile, and then click into any ticket. It would be listed like this for you. Hopefully that's helpful.
Awesome. A couple other things. Truthfully, Vaughn, he says they can see all tickets also by default without the portal disabled. That's news to me. I feel like that wouldn't be normal functionality. So we can get some clarity on that. I don't want to skip that question, but honestly, I don't think it should work that way. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and go through a couple other questions here. I also, Larry, I want to address yours about, will there be upgrades to the customer portal? They aren't able, you're giving clients access to the RMM. They cannot see auditing, policies, scripting, cannot sort assets by site. I have a question, I guess a further clarification about that. Like you said that they're using it for internal IT. Is it just the customer portal? So just keep in mind the customer portal, you can still get them access to running scripts from the customer portal or remoting in. But in Synchro, we also have what we call single customer permission groups. And that's what most people do for their clients that are internal IT. So whenever you have your users in the system, it is a technician license, but it sounds to me like they are a technician doing internal IT. So you'll have your different security groups, and then you can choose, like, out of the 32 options for a single customer, what they're going to have access to doing. So if you want them to be able to list and search and view details and things like that, this is all for one specific customer. They're going to actually be able to work on the tickets or assets and such. So that's what I would recommend doing if it was someone with internal IT. The customer portal isn't meant to be a technician type of a place. So not sure if I haven't seen any on the roadmap updates to the customer portal, if I'm honest. I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple other questions. So Derek says, working in a ticket and I add a piece of one-off hardware as a charge in addition to the labor, can I mark the hardware as taxable or not, but not, I can mark it, but not select a tax rate for it. On the invoice, I need hardware to have one tax rate and labor to have another. Can't figure out how to set the different tax rates on different line items. So really great question. I'm just going to share my screen here and I'm going to show you a couple things. So in your products and services section, that's where you're going to set the individual tax rates unless you have one set for a customer. So I just removed it from the customer. On my labor, I specify, okay, this is taxable, and then which tax rate I want, and I'm going to update that. And then I can go back into another product. So maybe I want to go into my actual hardware, and I'm going to specify, okay, I want it to be this specific tax group. Now, whenever I go add this to a ticket, so let me just create a ticket for you really quickly. easiest way is just from the asset, honestly. And open office hours, remote support, test. And I'm going to create this ticket. And I'm going to go ahead and add some labor here. I'm just going to add that. All right. And then I'm going to add a product. I'm going to add my Dell Tower, taxable. Perfect. I'm going to choose taxable. So I have a contract for this customer, which is why it went to $0. Now, if I make this an invoice, the contract I should have removed, but I'll show you how that's going to work. So let me just add that back in. So what's going to happen here is now you're going to see, okay, I have labor rate and I have or labor taxes and I have taxes on purchase. So it should definitely work that way. On the invoice, you're going to be able to choose which tax rate and if it's taxable, but you can also set that on the product. So hopefully that helps with that. And I think I have a couple others I can bang out. So Jose says, are there one or two ways to add time to a ticket that doesn't require to specify the time of day, just the amount? Yep, let me share that again. So let me open up. Let me just find that ticket again. There's 3 ways to add time in the ticket. So one of those is by using the timer. Another is to view log and to actually put in the time of day. But in this case, Jose, I would just go to the communication section. I apologize, it's so loud outside my window right now. You can log your minutes spent right here. So you can make a private note, you can make a public note, you can make this an email, but I can just say phone call with Brandy and log my time just directly in here. There's actually 4 ways because I could also go add and view charges and I could add just like 1 hour of labor here if I wanted to as well. So that's how I do that. And I think I'll take a break for.
Okay, sounds great. Doesn't sound loud at all. Sounds totally fine. Okay, I'm gonna grab several here in a row. So if you had a question, here we go. We're gonna start at the top of the list. So Tori says, at a point where we struggle with the customer portal is when a company is just one person, main contact versus separate contact. There seems to be different steps to use when it's the main company account versus a separate contact within a company. Can you explain best practice? How to configure for main customer versus a contact? Thank you. Yes, absolutely. This is such a great question. We covered this, from time to time on open office hours, but it's a valid question and it's important to understand how to set this up. So my personal recommendation, and again, there's pros and cons to doing it every other which way, but I always recommend when you're setting up a customer here, let's say Larry is the only one that works at Larry's business. You could either set him up and put his email address in here, main point of contact at larrysbusiness.com, which means he will get every single email, any notification, any ticket update, any portal invite, any estimate, any invoice. This person gets absolutely everything. If you're like, listen, he is super busy, he does not need to see whatever it is that you don't want to show him. Do not put his email address in here. Create him, even though he's his only person working at his own company, create him as a contact in here. Because when they exist as a contact, you have now more detailed options of what you want to actually include in here. You can say, I want him to get the billing emails and the marketing emails and the reporting emails. I want him to be a portal user. Let's say there's 2 people working in the company, Brandy and Crystal. You can say Brandy will directly report to Crystal so that she gets CC'd on any tickets that Brandy sends in, whatever it might be. So again, that is the main difference here is if whoever you put in here as the main point of contact, they get everything. If you don't want them to get everything, list them as a contact and set what actual emails you want them to get. Hopefully that's helpful to you. We'll grab the next question here. Is from Vaughn. Vaughn says, can you clarify which types of ticket comments that our customers can see versus not? Tickets, email, PDF, etc. So yes, I think I covered this question when we were going to the customer portal. So I'll share my screen real super quick because the queue is filling up. but I want to make sure that we answer this correctly. So via their customer portal, they would be able to see any public comments or any emails. Private comments, no matter what, can never be passed to the customer via the customer portal. That's literally why they're called private. So again, in the ticket comments or any emails that you send them, they would be threaded right here for you. Again, if they click PDF, this template is customizable for you under admin and PDF email template or ticket templates. That's what it just makes a pretty version of them just looking at their actual customer portal. So hopefully that's helpful for you there. Next question is from Larry. He says, how do we see what the client sees? I'm confused. So I apologize. I just got some clarity from my tech support team. I'm going to share my screen. So the reason that I can, this is what multiple of you guys are asking. So yes, I do have 7 contacts. When I was testing, I was showing you guys how to build out the customer profile, but I don't actually have any portal users enabled. Like if we tab through all 7 of these, none of mine are enabled, which is why it's so quick and easy for me to just open this in a new tab and then just see what the customer is supposed to see from their perspective. So I think that part was confusing for you guys. I apologize. So as soon as you set them up as a portal user, you would set them with a password, and you would need to enter that password in order to access what view that they're seeing. Again, once you get familiarize yourself with what's actually included in the customer portal and you set that level of permission via the portal group, there's really no follow-up that you really need to do from there. It's going to be including the things that you're expecting it to include. So Larry, I hope that is more clear that way. Same thing here. Anonymous says, I don't have a secure customer portal with password if portal users exist, including unclaimed invites enabled. Yeah, if they exist as a customer portal user, you're going to need to enter the password. Cindy says, I've asked this in the past, but I forgot what you guys told me. How do I set that anyone from a company sending in an email will be added as a contact instead of creating a new company? Good question. No problem on asking repeat questions. That's literally what we're here for. If you need to know what it is, just ask us and we'll tell you if we know. So the biggest thing here is, in order for it to not create a new company, you could either edit this customer profile and say, if somebody emails in here, it's going to be in the custom fields. If somebody emails in from this custom domain, like larryslamplighter.com, that's this business, it will now automatically attach them as a contact to this customer profile. Another way to see this is under more and admin. Scroll all the way down to your email roles. And then in here, when you're editing these email roles, this is the button, auto create contact under the above customer. So I would check both of those places. If you don't find the setting there, go to the admin section and just kind of scroll through the customer preferences. Anything related to creating contacts and anything like that is going to be listed in this section here. Okay, let's see. How are we doing? 9 questions. I think those are the ones that I grabbed. I'll pause here.
I can grab some. And some of these I just clicked on and we'll just work through together. So Christy says, is there a way to attach and label web links to clients more easily than creating multiple custom fields? When we use the notes option under the customer, the links aren't clickable. So I was thinking about this one, and honestly, what I would probably do in this instance is I would just create documentation that's specific to that customer. So I actually just did one in here somewhere, I think, for you. But you could just make these specific to that particular customer. Let me just edit this. I can say, okay, this is for internal use or a specific or all customers. So even if this was internal use, I could say Brandy testing open office hours. So we'll just pretend that this is a specific customer. I added a link in here. You could add multiple links. Now you can also go in and you can search all things up here if you need to. Like the body of any message is going to show up here. Also, if I pull up like Larry, so if you're pulling up a specific customer, it's going to show you any wiki that you have specific for them. So I'd probably do it that way, because again, under a customer's record, all of their documentation pages are going to be visible. And then if you need to, for any reason, give them access to their own devices to their own documentation from their portal, you can pick and choose. So I would probably use the documentation unless anyone has a better idea there. I think that's the best. And then Derek, I haven't even read through this yet, but when working on a ticket using a timer, it seems you have to know in advance exactly how the work will go. You might have to type in fix the connection with printer, but you undertake the work and don't accomplish the task. You can't edit that ticket timer note to say something like restarted spooler and restarted driver. Printer still disconnected, suspect network issue. How can we edit the timer notes after the fact? So this is still, let me just open up a ticket again. So if I use the timer here, oh, I should have put in a note like, okay, testing notes. And then I'm going to start the timer. And then I'm going to stop the timer. And then if I click on view log here, and it was this one, if I clear the charge, then you can edit the notes. So you just need to make sure that it's not charged. You can always clear the charge. Keep in mind that this doesn't mean it physically charged the time right now. It just means that it's a billable time. So you can absolutely do that. You'll just need to go to view log to be able to do that. So hopefully that got you sorted. And then another one from Vaughn. I see that we can create custom asset fields based on asset type. We want to apply some custom fields for different categories of hardware, server, workstation, etc. I know we can manually move those assets from the Synchro device category to one of those custom categories. Is there a way to configure Synchro to auto-classify an asset into an asset type? So actually, you cannot move any device from the Synchro device category. That means it's a managed device. It has the Synchro agent installed. So Synchro device cannot be changed at all. You'll see, I'll show you a couple fixes for this. So I have a lot of different asset types. If I add a printer, it's automatically going to add as a printer. If I add any server or workstation, that's going to show up as a Synchro device. What I would do in your instance is I would go into the Assets and RMM tab. I would click out to the left where you see saved asset searches. This is one of my top 3 favorite things in the whole system. So if I create a new saved asset search here, for example, I could have one for servers, and then maybe I want to just create this group here and I would save that. I could also create one for workstations. Automatically, if I install Synchro on a server, it's going to put it into this. If I install Synchro on a workstation, it's going to put it into my workstation one. Any group you create here, Synchro will auto detect. So if I add a custom field, well, now it's automatically going to add, I could say open office hours custom field. If I had a custom field for that, it's automatically going to put those devices into that category. And then I have a ton. Keep in mind, devices could be literally in every single one of these categories. It doesn't have to just be in one. So if I say, okay, I want to find everyone with Chrome installed, well, from here or that server or workstation, I would be able to do quite a few things in mass. Script, change policies, change customers, send mass emails, mass broadcast messages, bill dynamically. There's a lot you can do with that. So I would recommend utilizing the saved asset searches for that. And let's see, I don't think I have any more. Oh, except Chris says that Tatiana's background is making me want to order pizza. Chris, I want to order pizza like all day, every day. If I could live with one thing for the rest of my life, it would be pizza. So now I'm going to be thinking about that the rest of this. Thank you.
Yes, love it. Okay. I have a question here regarding the customer portal that I got some clarity from our support team. Darren says, when I click enable portal user, I do not get the password setup that shows on Tatiana's screen. So let's take a look together. So the response that so this is what I'm looking at. We're here in the customer profile. Oops. Just go to Larry's business. And we're going to tab over to contacts. You're saying when you click enable portal user, yours doesn't include this password information. I think that is what you are referring to. I got a response from our support team that said enabling a portal user within contacts doesn't show the password, only the following fields after saving, you should see the options that you're showing to the clients now. So it sounds like either mine is a unique setup, or when you do try enabling the portal user, and if you don't have these fields to fill out the portal information, if you scroll down or actually scroll up and click save, let me know if that makes the portal passwords populate there, or if there's another button that we need to click to enable. Let me look one more place really quickly in the customer preferences. Additional settings. So you do have multiple contacts enabled. Again, for mine, I don't know if this is the one that's actually going to fix this for you. I don't have mine enabled, so I don't think that one's super important. Maintain customer names, prepaid hours, enable documentation. So yeah, it should be, as long as you have contacts enabled, try selecting that option, clicking save up here, and then seeing if now when you go back into here, if you can enter the password. And if not, I recommend submitting a ticket, just because I would have no idea how to troubleshoot further than that. But let me know, Darren, because I want to make sure it works for you. Okay, let's see other ones that we have at the top. I'll start at the top. Derek says, I understand that an inventory item can have a unique tax rate, but what about a piece of hardware that I'm only going to sell one time? It seems that I have to add it as an inventory item, even if I'll never sell or stock it again. Nope. Let's make life easier. This makes me happy. Love this question. You can add any manual item to any estimate, ticket, or invoice. I'll show you estimates. That one's super easy. You can do this again on tickets or invoices as well. So let's click into a new estimate. We'll say we're selling Larry's business, something super custom that only he needs, and we're never going to sell it again to anybody else. So instead of, it sounds like what you're doing right now is clicking into products and services, adding the line item, and then pulling in the line item like as if it's part of your inventory. But again, if this is a one-off type of a situation, you do not have to do that. Just go ahead, and I'm going to refresh this real quick. You could just click add manual line item right here. And now just type in something super special, and it's awesome. And there's only one of them, and we're charging them $10,000 for it. No problem, create line item. Okay, now it exists as a manual line item. Now it's with tax, it's $10,950. And then what you do is you process it, publish it via the customer portal, customer accepts via the customer portal. This is now going to show as approved. Now either wrap it into a new ticket and start tracking time on the ticket, or convert it to an invoice and collect the payment upfront. Hopefully that helps. Please let me know if you need more clarity there. I'm going to grab one here that is an update from Chris. He says, regarding portal users, I don't see the password options either, but tested setting up a user, and that seems to work with all the password complexities and MFA, etc. Saving it did not help. I will open a ticket. Yeah, Darren, open a ticket. I don't know how else, other than what Chris said. He says, tested setting up a user, and it seems to work with all the password complexities. So I wonder if you have to set up the port password and everything as you're initially building out the contact. I'm not sure. Definitely reach out to support. I am not all knowing, unfortunately, as much as I want to be. I'll pause there.
Okay, I have a couple. Larry says how to send PDF only in the email reports, not the Excel sheet. So some reports are just Excel, so you won't be able to send like a PDF for those types of reports if that's what you're referring to. I think there's only one I can think of that actually has both, but everything else is one or the other. Otherwise, that would be a feature request. And I have been chatting some of you guys in the back end. Some things are feature requests. So figured just so that we can get through everything, that would be best. In the dashboard, how do we add or remove the links in the blue bar? So I'm going to ask for a little further clarification here. I would call you out by name, but it just shows anonymous. So if you're out there and you asked a question about the dashboard, let me know. So I'm in the dashboard itself. I don't know, there's not a blue bar here. So I'm wondering if you're talking about this portion. I'll cover both. Anything on this dashboard page here is not customizable, just so that you know. So I'll cover that part. If you're talking about this, if you go into the admin section and you go to tabs customization, that's where you're going to add and remove links, and then you can reorder these too. So hopefully that helps you. I thought I grabbed another in here. Can a customer access public documentation without needing a portal login? I would like to send them links to knowledge base articles, but they will not want to go through the login process. No. One thing you could do, Gary, is you could include a link like you could, it wouldn't be inside of Synchro if you don't want them to log into something, but you could have like some documents. Let me just populate my, I think I just went frozen. What you could do is, I don't know why I'm frozen now. Add a link to their system tray menu to where they could see docs, right? Like that could be something that maybe you want to create like external wiki, but it wouldn't be, you couldn't create it in Synchro and give them access. That's one. Let's see here. I thought there was a couple others. Tori, recurring tickets wants to know if there's a way for recurring tickets to be deleted by the end of the day. Is there a way for recurring ticket to delete itself? So we don't have any way of anything deleting itself. Now you could do like a ticket automation. I know you mentioned ticket automations, but you could definitely set up a ticket automation that says, um, you know, if a ticket hasn't been updated, I could just say not updated in, 24 hours, and it's in the resolved, or it's in any stage really, you could go ahead and resolve it, but nothing's going to delete automatically. And that's really just, we don't want anything to happen on accident and ruin anything in your system. I think that's all yeah, the blue bar. Perfect. Perfect. Yep. Good. Good deal.
Mhm.
That's it.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, we're gonna fly through some of these. Grady, for you, I'm gonna knock your questions out real quick because there's three that are kind of related. So it says, I was trying to follow the directions for sub pages in documentation in this KB. So I think I'm gonna open the KB real quick and share my screen. So sub pages wise, what I think you're referring to is, I don't see subpages on here, but I think what you're referring to is the ability for you to have, when you go into your documentation, to be able to use that left navigation. This is something that I learned like 3 or 4 or 5 open office hours ago, which was super exciting. So if you want, if this is what you're talking about of how to include notes here or clickable links, you have the ability to do that. If you go and create a brand new documentation page, you need to include the left nav. You can keep it internal, available all I would keep it internal, obviously, since it's for your own navigation. But the point is, you can't just type google.com or synchromsp.com. You actually have to use this little link button. So if you use the link and type in the actual thing, URL text to display. So let me show you this actual example. Mine is synchromsp.com, text to display is synchromsp.com. Main page, and I want it to open in a new window. So once you save this, now when you go back to your documentation, and it's going to be now populated in that left navigation, and it'll actually take you to that page. So hopefully that is what you're asking about. If not, please let me know what you mean when you say sub pages, since I couldn't find that in the documentation. Next question is from Derek. He says the question it was in relation to having different tax rates for hardware and labor. I understand I can add an ad hoc to a ticket, but when I do, I can't seem to select the different tax rates for the ad hoc item. Interesting. Okay, thank you for the clarity. Let me jump back into, again, I was using estimates for my example. It might work differently in tickets, but with estimates, even if you are creating a super special one of a kind line item, you can say, yes, it is taxable, but then there's this little caret here that you can use to say tax rate and then choose it here. So I don't know if that's helpful to you, or I guess we can do it super quick. I know we only have 10 minutes left and 14 questions, so we're going to need to go like fast after this one. But again, click into Larry's business here, add or view charges, something. Oh yeah, I see that. Well, I guess, yeah, I don't know if there is a way to change the tax rates. I would write into support for that. If it's not available, at least they can pass it along as a feature request to the team. Sorry about that. I think that's the only ones that I grabbed out of the box. Less navigation. Okay, Grady. Yep. Awesome. Hopefully that's helpful.
I have a couple in here I can grab real quick. So is there a way to log Screen Connect sessions? So yes, let me just share my screen. I'll just keep it shared for a minute. Screen Connect sessions, you can either do this in the, well, I would recommend just doing it in the Executive Summary Report Builder. So it'll show Screen Connect, TeamViewer, Splashtop, Synchro Live. As long as it's an integrated solution, it will show that. Do you guys offer any professional services in assisting getting converted from Connectwise? We don't internally. We have someone in the Facebook group that's not associated with Syncro who has worked with quite a few of you guys. So you can reach out to your account representative and we can get you that information. But Syncro does not. Larry's asking, can monitoring checks like CPU and RAM resolve themselves? Like remove from the open RMM alerts automatically. A couple things, let me show you that. You can definitely set up an automated remediation to say, okay, if my CPU usage alarm goes off, well, one of my actions could just be to clear the alert. So you can do that for quite a few different things. Also, if you don't want to take action on those alerts, then you might not want to even alert on those, but you could mute or clear those for any given amount of time for specific or all assets. So hopefully that helps. And I think, honestly, do you know any of the actual code examples for API, specifically Python? I have no idea what that's in reference to, but unless you know, Tatiana, that's likely going to be a support thing. That's not an us thing, unfortunately, Randy. Let's see here. I'm just going to scroll through a couple. So Grady says, it appears that in the overview tab of a customer, you can create new portal users partway down. That gives the fields people are looking for an individual contact. Yeah, on the customer page, that's where you create the portal users and specify which group they're going to belong to. And I think that's it. There's quite a few questions in here about like auditing and such, in terms of like a master access or usage log where we can see every action. There isn't something like that. You can definitely do like a credentials report, right? There's a log of that to see like which technicians accessed so-and-so's credentials. If you are the global admin, you can also see changes like at the bottom of, there's like a history log at the bottom of some things. So just like to make sure people know that.
Okay, super helpful. Actually, I'm curious now, Grady, now that you said that, coming back to your comment super quick, you're right. There is a place to do that outside of just on the contact basis. And it does include the password stuff. So for those of you guys that are like, hey, I'm missing the password stuff, I think Grady cracked the code. I was showing you here in the contacts, mine does pre-populate. Again, so there's like 15 of us that use this one account. So the settings change all the time. And I don't know why mine is pre-populating, but for those, and maybe it's because I click and unclick this a million times already. But if you're looking for if the passwords don't populate for you, Grady's right. If you go over to the overview page, you scroll down almost almost way to the bottom, and you click add new. I think it should be giving you the options to create the password and adjust the portal. So let me know if that helps instead. Okay, we have 7 minutes left. We are going to go through some of the rest of these questions. Okay, I'll start here at the top with Zindi. The question is there any way to set a certain company that all of their tickets should have to be approved by their manager first? This is more of a process thing. There isn't a specific setting in Synchro that will say like must be like do not work until approval for a manager, so approved by manager. What you could do is over in the admin section through Syncro, you could set up a ticket automation and say, if a new ticket comes in from this company, then I need it to, let me find the setting. I think you can filter by company. Hold on. Oh, you can't do it by company, dang it. That was going to be my go-to. I was going to say, like, if ticket is new and it comes from this company, then I need to email the boss and say, hey, is this ticket approved for us to work on? But it doesn't look like we can filter by customer here. The only other thing I can think of is if you can set it to a custom ticket status, either through an SLA of saying, like, anything that comes from this SLA for this specific customer, I need it to set to a custom ticket status of getting approval from a manager from company ABC, and then have that automatically email the manager. Actually, you could do it that way. Hopefully that's helpful. Reach out to support if you need more clarity there, because I know we're running out of time here. Let's see, guys. I don't know if we'll be able to get to all of these.
I think we can.
It was slow there in the beginning, and now it's like, all right, let's hop to it. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. In the contact section, is there a way to see assets they have assigned to them? No. But you can go to the asset view and you'd be able to see like what contact is assigned there, but there's not like a list of here's the contact, here's the assets. Just to clarify, when the condition such as high CPU goes back down to normal range, it would close the alert. That doesn't happen automatically. Well, okay. There is an option in the, let me just share screen really quickly. I think we can get through all of these. Some of the report or some of the different alerts that are in the policies, if you have these selected, those will auto resolve. And if you have just these, I guess, have the option to auto resolve. Otherwise, like if you are setting it up to say, okay, I'm running a script and then I'm clearing the alert, that would happen automatically. So sorry about that. And then is there a way to trigger, Grady, there's not a way to trigger an invoice based on an accumulated amount. Sorry about that. I'm not going to skip yours. I just can't give you the answer that you want. There's not a way to auto clear older attachments in the attachment section either. So I'm just going to kind of go through here. Tatiana, if you want to chime in some too.
Let me know when you're at a good stopping point. I have like 5 or 6 that I'm going to grab.
Okay, go ahead, crank through.
Okay, Vaughn says we use third-party invoicing for our customers when we bill by ticket. Is there any way we can prevent new charges from getting added to a ticket once the ticket has been marked as resolved? There isn't. There is a setting, I can't find it, so reach out to support, where I believe if somebody responds to a resolved ticket and they keep asking questions even after the ticket is supposed to be resolved, you can choose for that to generate a brand new ticket instead of reopening that resolved ticket. So I would check that out. Randy says we have a non-inventory item in QuickBooks called special order we use for almost anything that is not already in inventory. So thank you for that tip. Again, I know we're running out of time here today, but join the Facebook group, ask each other questions. Our community is phenomenal and we appreciate you guys being here. Turi says, when creating estimates for a customer, there are times when we have some line items for one-time labor and some for recurring monthly charges. Is there any way we can add a divider or a field or text in the estimate to that? Maybe top portion of the estimate is for one-time labor, the bottom shows monthly operating expenses. What do you recommend for best practice on that? I would recommend either editing the PDF of the estimate over in the admin and then PDF and email templates, or Tori, on a recurring invoice, you can specify when you're adding a new line item in there. If it's a one-time charge, you can select that and make sure that it drops off after the month. Larry says, how to make a report that shows which scripts ran on the last day of for client reporting. Larry, I would check out the new internal report builder through Syncro to see if you can show the scripts that ran on the last day of the for client reporting. I think that should be included in there. Zindy says, is there any way to schedule Chocolatey installations to run, or when adding an asset to a policy that enabled it would run right away? I don't think it runs immediately, but when you do set up your third-party patch management through Syncro, and you select all your apps and you add your custom apps down below that, there is a way to schedule it. So definitely check out those sections there.
You're doing it right. I've created a custom asset type called software to manage serial numbers and software licenses. That is the recommended way to do it because you can create tickets if you need to. You can store custom fields. You're doing it right. And if you have a date range in there, remember custom fields on assets, if they're date ranges, you can set up like a notification 7 days or 30 days in advance. You guys, 1 minute. This was awesome. Great session. Thank you so much, Grady. Time to go earn some money. I love that. That's awesome. Yes, make more money with Synchro, you guys. It was awesome chatting with you today. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for joining us today.
Yep. See you next week.
See you guys.